See. Yo, what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and it is about to pop off here in S2-3, where we have a bunch of alliances about to go up against each other. This is with Kingdoms 28, 29, 33, 34, 47, and 51. You got one that's full, one that's crowded. We got two actives and two normals. I mean, this is a pretty population active based server with, I guess we could say, high activity. Now, there is essentially in this group, we have pretty much what I would consider like medium to high level fighting. As of yesterday on October 24th, the update we got was that it was essentially the two right level 4 passes and the two left level 4 passes going into Zone 4 with GD, NOIR, LNV 28 versus TWB, BxS, BXM, and 066. And so we kind of have this 4-on-4. Now, I don't know if any of that has changed, obviously, since the update yesterday that we got, and or if any alliances might have switched sides or some got added on, or again, maybe they just gave me the primary ones. But we have a pretty dope ramp fight that is happening right now where we had NOIR and GD coming. I don't know if there's anyone else in here. If there is, we'll keep a lookout. Oh, I think maybe there's a BxS thing up there that was over. Oh, there's JEZSTAR! Jesse Poo, what's up, baby? And so I gotta always give JEZSTAR a shout out. Any of my friendly Infinity Kingdom fam. I think I saw Rekov somewhere, and I know I've seen Blink out in the battlefield as well. So, again, anyone I get a chance to always will. But this is just massive fighting that we have right now. Now, I'm hoping the lag will be okay here for me on the PC client because oh my gosh, just ridiculous amounts of artifacts that are being popped off over here. All those negative purples, geez, just clashing so much right now. That is wild. Surround times 3, times 2, times 4s. Oh. Gotta love it. You have to love it. All right, let me see if we can get a little bit of a bask here, because you guys know me, man. I love being able to show off. Oh, I think we're already good here on my right window. So, oh yeah, look, we got the line. We're going to switch the color on this, though, because I think the color that we had there just may not have been ultra bueno. Let's see here. How do I... Oh, maybe blue. Yeah, I don't know. Is blue good for you guys? Or maybe it's black. You know what? We're going to stick with pink because I just think it's working. All right. So here we go, though. Sorry, we had... so we got NOIR, GD, and then I think it was TWB and BxS on the other side from where it looks like. And, man, they have numbers. There's our boy NEPHISTO, #1 strongest player in the game, right over there from TWB. And they are coming down like a wrecking ball. What's wild here is that you still have a decent amount, GD, NOIR players that are up here, right? And it's interesting because they came down, right? And they basically went up. Now, I want to point this out because I actually kind of like what we're seeing here from GD, NOIR, going up against TWB and BxS in this regard. Now, we've talked about this before, where the appropriate way to fight battles is first and foremost making sure that you can always try to put yourself in an advantageous position, right? What this means is they opted to not just sit here and fight on the ramp. They did, which was one of the strategies that I would do, and I've talked about this multiple times in PvP content, where you don't just sit and fight around the barricades and around keeps, right? You move away from them, and you fight on your terms. So I just want to give a huge shout out here, because this, to me, is what I consider to be top-tier level PvP, right? At least from what we're seeing so far when it comes to the tactical decision-making of how to position and where to fight from, I really love what GD and NOIR did here. They opted to fight in a more advantageous position for themselves, or at least a less disadvantageous position for themselves. Right? So again, coming around, moving around the barricades, not being around where a lot of the keeps are, and being able to fight from an area where they have a little bit more maneuverability. You can see over here, there's not a lot of barricades, not a lot of keeps over here in this area, so they're really able to kind of fight in this wide open place, right, without having to worry too much, and they can just fight all around there. Right now, what it really comes down to is making sure that we're getting good spread, right? Because again, you want to be able to fight in these types of situations where you can either create a line or you create an arc, right? These are things that we often talk about when you're looking at the PvP for how you want to work it when you're having large-scale fighting and just multiple alliances that are participating together, right? You don't really want to clump up too much. Now, the interesting part here, if we're looking at the opposite side from TWB and BxS, really their best approach is to make sure they're focusing down the PvP units and then eventually working their way up to the builders, or we should say the engineers, that are destroying the tower up northwest. So in this case, right, TWB, this up here, so I think the idea that I really would like to see now, this is the thing, right? Some of them, you saw some of the BxS players moving over here northeast, and the thing about this is taking advantage of the supply line, right? So there's a couple ways you can approach this situation, right, that you're seeing right now. Obviously, it seems as though GD and NOIR have a little bit more activity at this moment in time. Though, if I'm TWB and I'm BxS, when you have kind of a numbers disadvantage, the idea here, and we'll show you kind of what we're talking about, you want to kind of do something like this, right, where you're arcing it like that. So this way you're always able to stay at kind of max range. We often talk about this for mages and archers, and then, right, because they're kind of curving like this. So you want to be able to take advantage of that, making sure that you're kind of at your max distance along with, and again, we're talking more for the mage, archers, celestials, some of the range cap for any of the Spring Warden players out there, even though the range is obviously a little bit less than what you would see for mages, hoping that you're not just kind of going in one by one, right? The other thing is that if you're not going to opt to do a widespread, then one of the other things you can do, and I'll give you a great example here. Let's say you don't want to do a widespread. So instead, what you do is you focus on the numbers you have and you do something like this. And then you're basically trying to kind of focus fire down certain areas, right? So like let's say you want to hit this. Okay, so you're going to do this, right? This is kind of what you're doing, right? You're basically focus firing down units one by one or small batches to small batches. You're doing it in a way where you're kind of prioritizing, you're focus firing those down. So if I'm looking at the map right now, in this situation, I would probably be looking, so if I'm BxS TWB, first off, I probably wouldn't be overextending as much as I am right now on this side. I would probably be focusing down this group. So I would take this group right here that you're seeing fighting, and I would have them go over here and start attacking Benny, or the opposite, have the players that are over here on this side go over to the east where you see Nephalis, 7-7, Godslay, TKML, right? These players, and then doing it that way. Now, I think these guys are a little bit too close right now, just because you can get hit from the east side. So you have to kind of look at it like this. Let's go back to the pen. So if you're the group right here, you could be getting attacked here, 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 and here, right? Ideally, you wouldn't want to overextend that much, right? Now, obviously, if you're pushing and your opponents are falling back, you can make those heads-up plays and adjustments on saying, okay, well, if they're falling back a little bit, now we can kind of keep pace where we're at. Maybe we can push a little bit more, but you also have to be looking at what are your other teammates that are doing. Are they also moving with you as a unit, or are they still attacking from kind of a little bit more of a safety distance? That's something you just have to pay attention to, right? And again, one of the things what would be cool is if BxS and TWB had a group, even if it was a small group, right, maybe 10 units, and they were basically just taking advantage of this pathing here, right? Because you have to think about it. This is basically the choke. So having players, for example, that were maybe like here, and then you have to think about it. Bam, choke, bam, choke, bam, choke. I mean, look how slow. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. And then you're just psh, 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 right? Psh. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking to do. But you'd have to be able to multitask or micromanage troops in that way, whether it's multiple troops from the same players or if it's different players that are just having different focuses on the field. And again, sometimes it can be difficult to organize those things in real time. But if you've already been fighting for a little while, you can maybe make those heads up play. Why? Because, or I shouldn't say heads up play, but you're able to provide those instructions, those tasks, those actions over to your other teammates. And the reason I say I think that's a good idea to do is because, one, you're cutting off the supply line, right? So you're reducing the amount of reinforcements that's coming over. And then next, because that's happening, you're fighting from your cities and being able to have a faster or quicker replenishment time or resupply time because your opponents are fighting on your side or closer to your cities. That means you're going to be able to start whittling them down just bit by bit, more than they may be able to do to you. Now, obviously, there's other factors that will play into that, which really comes down to how organized, how structured, how disciplined are the two fighting teams or the two sides that are fighting against each other, right? To depend on one, if you're the attacker and you're going into your defender's territory, how long are you going to be able to sustain within your opponent's territory, right? The amount that you can sustain really in large part, especially if you're having good activity PvP on both sides, will in large part be determined by your level of structure, patience, and organization, right? And then tactics, etc. as well. On the defending side, you can argue the same thing, though I like just to believe that defending side, especially if you're even matched, that it really does come down to that. A lot more of the strategy and the tactics, and then any of the adjustments and adaptations or adaptions that need to be made on the fly. Because again, you can see BxS and TWB now pushing them back a little bit more. My focus here would be focus on the PvP units before you start focusing on the builders, right? Because the builders aren't attacking you. You always should be focusing on PvP units first. Once the PvP units are either behind or far enough away where you can attack the engineers or the builders without being attacked by the PvP units, then that is okay to then make that switch and start attacking those. Looks like you got some more people coming in. A Dove coming in, 29 mil. I love it. Excuse me. And then we got Baked Potato. Man, put it in the works, though, man. I love how we're seeing some of, I guess, what I would consider to be like the T4 players, right, that are coming in, showing people what's up and how they're jamming. Sammy there, 75 mil. Divine Mercy getting thrown down. That Terrifying Inferno being thrown down. That Burst Strike. Look at that multiple AoE DPS coming down there for that negative purple RD. I love it. Another Burst Strike. I mean, just so much negative damage. Red that's being done for a lot of those basics, and then AoE DPS that's being thrown out. That Shadow Game's coming down. Divine Mercy, again, that Tear of Arben getting some heals there. That 2 seconds for 8 seconds total. And it was good placement, right? It wasn't placed too far in front, which usually the reason, and we see this happen sometimes where you'll see people throwing down their Tear of Arben or their Divine Mercy, and they'll do it when they're kind of attacking, but then sometimes they'll get countered quickly, and their teammates aren't really able to, or their friendly allies aren't really able to maximize the amount of heal that they get from it. So that's why it's always important to kind of throw it down either right when the battle starts after you've taken a couple hits but no one's really pushing, or the moment that you've noticed that you're counterattacking them, or just in general on any area of engagement where their side is not heavily pushing your side. Now, you could still make the argument for playing it, especially if you're doing it into like infantry. Like let's say you have a squad of infantry or something like that you're playing into your opponent's side and you're playing the Tear of Arben or the Divine Mercy on that. That could be something as well. All right, man, this is wild, right? I mean, we've seen, again, pretty awesome where NOIR GD coming down like a wrecking ball. And now TWB, BxS, holding ground, or we should say making up ground, and now holding ground a little bit more, at least here on this northwest section where they've almost eradicated the GW or the GD and NOIR players there. Now this group and squad is going to be able to start moving east over here to the edge or the cliff face and then working their way south of the ramp. Right, and now NOIR GD is going to have to make a decision on, okay, are we just going to regroup and then we'll just all head back down again and do the same thing? Are we going to start replenishing so we can hold? You know, usually my recommendation in these types of situations is that if you are already, and what we should say, at the moment, from what we're looking at, the best thing they can really do is to regroup. I would say focus on that because they're already losing some of the positioning where they weren't really replenishing as much. And that's okay if you do not feel, like, for example, let's say you have players that are getting off, players that are coming online, maybe you have players that have a far walk. It's important to be able to make those calls as an on-field general, if you will, so that way, or on-field decision maker, so that way you know, right, how to put your team and your players' units in the best positions to be successful. Right? Where it doesn't really benefit them if they keep sending in units one by one because the numbers advantage will probably be on BxS TWB as they're coming down the ramp. Instead, focus on regrouping, reset up your line and your formation, right? So here in this situation, really what I would probably like to see is them doing something like this, right, where it's an arch. Maybe not going all the way here. I'd probably say like this as an example. And then that way this group can do some attacking. And then on the other side, let's see here. Oh, no, that one. That's someone calling back, but they didn't. And then on here, you can, I should say something like this, right? This is kind of what you're looking at, ideally, for what you'd like to try and see. And again, right, Celestials and Flying will obviously switch and change some of that up. I'd love to see that happening a little bit more from well, I guess either side, but I think it would be cool if we saw that from the defending side going up the cliff or the attacking side going down the cliff to kind of pick off some of the stragglers. Because, again, you could see this here. I mean, you got reinforcements that's coming in. NOIR and GD have good numbers here. But, again, BxS, TWB not doing bad. We're going to see NEPHISTO still going in. Lingley, Big Out. I think I saw... Oh, Jez is still there fighting. Let's see, Acalanes. I thought I saw someone else. I remember. I thought I saw Gabby somewhere. But maybe they'll be... Oh, yeah, there we go. El Gabby. I was like, man, I thought I saw them. So, yeah, now in this situation where you have your infantry running that Madeline Nika up the ramp, this is where you want to try and get a lot of these units, your ranged ones, as close as you can, right? Where you're in a position, for example, where you're doing something like this. You're kind of curving because you want to be able to have as many people with as much range focusing this kind of kill box area, kind of doing a yin and yang, but that's kind of what you're looking at, right? To do as much as possible. But again, oh man, that Shadow Games, that was well played, hitting up to 4 there on that. We got a Haas Kanara there. Do I have some agua? Let me get some agua here. Nope, I'm out. I'll get some in a bit. The fighting's just been too awesome. It's draining me right now. I'm parched for some high-quality H2O. Waterboy style. But yeah, man, it's good stuff. Yeah, most of you know I love watching PvP. As much of it as I can get. I'm curious. Let's back up a little bit. Let's see kind of what we're running. So, lots of mage. Some archers. In there, a little mix of cav. We got some infantry, but again, mostly mage. Some archers there. On the lower side, mage, archer, one archer, mage, one infantry. Okay. So again, yeah. I mean, it is, man. It is the mage meta. That's pretty much what we've known for a while now. However, I do believe as more time goes on and as more heroes come out to where you'll eventually be able to get to a composition of sorts where you can run 10 legendary infantries heroes or 10 legendary cav heroes or a mix of some legendary and epic heroes where you can run 5 infantry, 5 cav marches, but doing it with those heroes that have that, at least one of those specializations for that particular type. I really think that's when we'll start seeing... I mean, we are seeing a little bit of it now, but I really believe that's when we're going to start seeing a lot more of role type focuses. And then I also believe that's where we'll get to a position to where not only will we see those types of role focuses, but you'll be able to see almost like different squads within the battle, within the war that's happening, right? Where maybe you'll have an infantry-focused squad, and they'll be able to micromanage appropriately in that sense. And then you'll have archers and mages. You'll have a celestial group that'll go around. Then you'll have a cav group that'll go around hunting, right? I mean, just some ideas. Obviously, not to showcase or to explain, but to detail out everything. But these are just some of the things, right? And what I believe to be certain levels of potential in the ceilings that we can eventually get to, and I'm sure we will over a period of time. And that's often what really gets me excited to watch as much PvP as possible, because also by me being able to watch a lot of different PvP, you're able to see a lot of different strategies sometimes, or I guess you have the opportunity, I should say, to see different strategies that are being implemented. But man, I want to say this. We're almost at 20 minutes, and I got to give some shout-outs here, man, to TWB and BxS on, first and foremost, on the defense. and then the counter play to push GD and NOIR out. But I also have to give my flowers and love to GD and NOIR, as I said in the very beginning, where they did that initial push to break away from where the barricades are. And that, again, I just thought was so top tier, right? That's the kind of what I would say in that, like for that specific decision on where are we going to fight from, that was top tier. That's exactly how it's done. Now, again, the positioning, how they spread out, where some of the focus firing was, right? That of course I think could have been a little better. But I loved that they put themselves in what I would consider to be one of the best positions to actually engage a fight. So again, absolutely loved it. Yeah, I mean, really, that's how it's done in one of the ways that you can approach it. So, all right, we're at almost 21 minutes here. I'm sure there's probably going to be a little bit more PvP, and man, I want to keep recording. I am gonna stop it here. Oh, I don't even think oh, dang it, I didn't even get a chance to get a screenshot. Rough life. Okay, here, we'll just grab one now. And then I'm going to grab one. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll grab one here. That way maybe I can do like a combo or something. I totally forgot to grab one. So, see, that's what I'm saying. You guys have to remind me. Hang on, I have to think about this. How can you remind me if I'm recording this locally while not streaming? That's probably going to be difficult. But yeah, it just, again, man, I love it. I love it. So let's grab one here just in case. Yeah, I have to remember to get these when the fighting is happening. Sometimes I'm so absorbed, right, with the PvP that's happening that honestly I just forget. Yeah, I just don't even think about it. Alrighty, with that in mind, I think that's where we're going to call it. I want to point this out. I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but the PC client held up ever since I switched to 30 FPS. And then we went down to 1.0 on the render quality. I may test out going to 1.1 the next PvP video and leave the frame rates at 30 to see if that adjustment may garner us. And if any of you have another idea, like if you guys are getting better performance out of your PC client than I am, please let me know, because I would love to test something out to where I can try to get the highest PvP quality I can, but with the least amount of lag and hopefully zero freezes to where I have to do restarts. So with that in mind, that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you guys think about this fight here at S2-3. If you're in the fight, have you been loving the back and forth? Have you been enjoying it? Has the PvP been going on for a long time? And if so, is that really what you've always been looking for and hoping, that it wouldn't just be over in a couple days, but it would last as long as possible? I want to hear it all. So let me know down there. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.